Here's a preview of what you'll hear on this episode of Beyond the Wheel.
When you're traveling, you can't always maybe put a slide out. You're not always in an area that's going to let you do that. You might actually find the more you use your RV, the more times that you're in those situations that you can't put the slide out.
Just to stop to have lunch. I mean, in our first RV, we could not get access to the kitchen when the slides were in. So you'd have to either move the slide out a little bit to get in there or pack everything that you wanted for lunch beforehand. And
now enjoy the show.
You are listening to Beyond the Wheel, a podcast about the people and ideas that drive the RV community forward.
This episode is brought to you by Battleborn Batteries, the best name in the RV and marine industry. These lithium batteries are designed and assembled in the USA, backed by a 10-year warranty. The best solution for your battery anxiety, so go check them out at battlebornbatteries.com.
Whether your adventure is on the road, on the water, or off the grid, Battleborn batteries keep you out there longer.
Hey everyone, Kenny here. Do you travel with pets and are looking for a way to monitor and be alerted of temperature spikes in your RV while away? I've been using a temp stick in our RV for over 3 years, and I love the simplicity of being able to connect to any of our hotspots, as well as not having the hassle of any subscription or service fees. If you are looking for a reliable way to protect your pets while away, check out TempStick at tempstick.com. Hey, Sean, how you doing?
Good, Kenny. How's it going today?
I am good. I can't complain, but I was just complaining to you a moment ago saying that I am tired tonight.
Yeah, me too.
You're a better laid out than I am. Not that it is a late night whatsoever. I got to look over. It's only 5 o'clock, but I was up at 4 a.m.
But we are coming up on the shortest day of the year in the 21st. So
you were saying that, and I definitely feel it. I've noticed the shorter the day gets, the more tired I am by the end of the night. I'm like ready to turn in by like 6 p.m. It's horrible.
Yeah, it was completely dark here by 5 today.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really early. Yeah, that's really early. Well, it is 5:15 right now. It is not completely dark, but it's getting there. For anybody watching right now on our YouTube, you were able to help me out and get me this fancy background. So now we got our sponsors up there, Battleborn and TempStick. And I don't have a green screen. I'm not that high tech yet, but it works surprisingly, it works pretty well.
It looks great. Yeah, I think it looks good.
Yeah. And you wouldn't know it, but I am. Oh, that's weird. I was going to try to show people that I am in the RV. And the reason why I bring it up is because I wanted to say that Battleborn Batteries and TempStick are our sponsors. But this episode is truly being brought to you by Battleborn Batteries because I'm in my RV right now, unplugged, running everything off our Battleborn batteries. So I got the computer, the mic, the lights. I even got the heat on, but I do have it set pretty low so that it's not like kicking on and off constantly while we're recording. I did some quick math, Sean. It's not my strongest suit, but based on what everything's using right now, my 2 Battleborn batteries, I will be able to broadcast this episode for 66 hours.
Oh, wow. Did you say you had the heat on?
Yeah. You know what? The RV has been cooling off. We've been, surprisingly enough, dropping down into the 30s overnight. And then, it takes like all day for it to warm back up. So when I got into the RV, it was like 63, which is comfortable for me. But I was afraid that it would start to now that the sun's down, I thought maybe it would just like drop real quick. So I brought the temperature up to like 73 real quick, or 74, I guess. Then I lowered it back down to 65. It probably won't kick back on again, but it's on just in case.
Yeah, that's good. That's good that you can run everything you need to off of those batteries.
Yeah. And that 66 hours is based off of no sun, and I'm in Arizona, so there's plenty of sun. So if we were trying to do some type of marathon, Sean, I don't know, it would be, who knows? I guess weeks, with the sun coming out and recharging the batteries every day. But yeah, with no sun, we can do over 60-hour Beyond the Wheel podcast marathon.
Okay, we'll have to try it sometime.
Yeah. I don't know if I can talk that long. Well, maybe I could. Maybe I could. Sean knows I'm a talker. Sean fights to get a word in sometimes.
The one thing we wanted to let everybody know on this episode is that we are going to be at the Tampa Super Show in January.
Yeah.
Kenny will be busier than me, but I'll be walking around every day. So I'll have my Beyond the Wheel gear on. So if you see me, stop and say hello.
Sean's going to be wearing a blue Beyond the Wheel podcast hoodie. Sabrina, I just bought her a teal Beyond the Wheel podcast hoodie. You won't miss her. Sabrina's 6 feet tall in a teal hoodie. You will spot us. You can't miss us. She's going to be like a neon sign. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this show. I'm just looking forward to seeing everybody, seeing the vendors. I mean, Sean, you and I did the RVX in 2019 or 18?
18. I think it was
18. And that was a fantastic show for us because we ran around like knuckleheads for those 3 days and just got so many contacts and met so many people and, turned those contacts into guests for the show. It really turned out to be a great show for us. And I'm hoping that the Tampa show is something that's going to be very similar. Plus, we'll be able to catch up with some of the people that we've had on the show that we've never really met in person before and say hi to them. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I think that'll be. I think it's going to be a good show. I'm excited that it's mostly outdoors. I'm happy about that.
It'll be a busy few days, but I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I think it's well worth the trip. I've never done the Tampa show, so I've done smaller RV shows, and I've done the RVX with you. I've done the Hershey show, but I've never done the Tampa show. This is how many Tampa shows for you?
Oh, this will be my 5th, I think.
Wow. Oh, more than I thought then. Okay, so you're a veteran when it comes to the Tampa show. Well, you're a veteran always. But yeah, with the Tampa show too. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I should say too, Sean, I'm looking forward to seeing you in person because we don't get to see each other in person that often. The last time I saw you was probably Harrisonburg in 2020,
wasn't it?
Was it 2020? I guess it was 2020. Yeah. So I mean, you and I don't even get to see each other that often. I'm sure most of our listeners know that we're both remote as far as, Sean and I are not sitting in a room together. We are over, almost 2,000 miles apart. So that's the beauty of technology nowadays, though. It's fun that we're able to do this show, even though we can't be in the same room together. And we are planning, though, we're going to try, we've done it before at RVX and do some live interviews at the Tampa show. At RVX, we did a live interview with the CEO of KOA, and that went really well. And then we did a live interview with
Hutch Mountain, Clayton.
And I could not remember his name. I could remember the Hutch Mountain, but I couldn't remember Clayton. And both of them were really fun interviews. So we're hoping that we can get some live. The problem with this show is it's just the noise level. We got to be able to get a spot that, maybe pull them aside from what they're doing and just sit down with them for, even if it's 20 minutes or 25 minutes, just pull them away from their booth for a little bit and sit down and chat with them and get it on recording. So we're hoping to get some live interviews for you guys. We probably won't broadcast live. They'll be pre-recorded, but live nonetheless, and kind of like in the spur of the moment. I thought those other 2 episodes were a lot of fun. Just in general, I think it's going to be a really good show. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. And I think the other thing I wanted to mention, Kenny, was that we recently started and hope to continue with writing articles and putting them on our website, beyondthewheelpodcast.com. And so far we've done one on FMCA, the value of a FMCA membership. And then I'm blanking on the Surviveware and Garmin InReach reviews are on there. And we're hoping to do at least one every other week put on there. So it'd be worth checking out. A lot of products that we've interviewed on the show, Kenny and I have gone out and purchased, and we would like to write reviews on them after having used them for a while. So
Yeah, I'm writing a one on Shore Call. I just finished it. I want to read it over one more time, and then I'm going to send it over to Sean for he can review them for me. So make sure that all my I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
yeah.
You know what? The one with the short call, not that it's a challenge for me, but I got to go up and I want to like take some photos of how I installed it and show how I ran wiring and things like that. So I want to get that portion done too, because I did like a review part of it, and then I also added just how easy it was for me to install. It wasn't like a big to do. I didn't have to bring it somewhere. I just installed it myself, and it really isn't. It's a very easy, I think, beginner. It's like an antenna and a wire and an amplifier. There's not much to it, and a power cord. So it's a fun little DIY project.
Yeah, but you got a pretty nice setup the way you set yours up. It's above the door, right?
Yeah. Yep. So the antenna is on our ladder rack, and the amplifier is right above the door, and I put it there. I mean, you can kind of put them wherever you want. They do recommend keeping them, I think, maybe 10 feet, the two antennas away from each other. But we got it for Sabrina and her work, and she did a lot of video calls and phone calls and on the internet doing work while we were driving, and she would do it from the passenger seat. So you got the entry door to our RV, and then her seat was right in front of there. So we just wanted the booster to be near where she was working most of the time. And our RV isn't that big, so it's very close to our dinette at the same time. So when we're parked, that was where she was doing all of her work also. So, it was either dinette or at the driver's seat. But I'm using it right now. I should probably mention that too. Like, not only is the Battleborn batteries powering all of my equipment right here to record, but it's also powering my booster right now. And otherwise I wouldn't get without that short call, I wouldn't get a strong enough signal where we're located out in the middle of nowhere in Arizona to be able to broadcast. So even though it is all the way up front and I'm in the back now, again, I'm only in a 28-foot RV. It's not that huge of an RV. That's just how well, the system has worked for us. Sabrina, we bought that system over 3 years ago. And the nice thing about it is similar to like Battleborn batteries, I keep saying it, but I mean, it just works. Like, there's no moving parts. There's nothing to fiddle with. What we have is a very basic setup. I talk about it in the blog. There's no fine tuning of anything. There's no pointing an antenna. It's an omnidirectional antenna. So, and I talk about the differences because we liked it so much. We bought one for the house, and there is fine tuning for the house, and it is a directional antenna. So we did have to point it, but the house doesn't go anywhere. So you point the antenna one time and you're done. The RV, I know people have used directional antennas for their RV, but then you're setting it up every time depending on where you're moving and parking, and you want to point it towards that antenna, the cell tower. So I wanted omnidirectional for the RV.
What are we going to talk about tonight, Kenny? It was your idea this time to what we're going to discuss, and I think it's a good one.
I thought, with the spirit of the holidays coming up and Christmas and the wish list, and in the spirit of the Tampa show, being that there's going to be tons of RVs there, I thought Sean and I could kind of like sit down and talk about our wish lists for an RV. If Sean and I were to go out right now and buy RVs, brand new RVs, what would we want to see on a brand new RV today? What would we want to purchase? What value, for our money are we going to be able to get for these RV systems? And we were thinking this might help somebody shopping because, man, RV sales are just flying through the roof still. I mean, they're just going up and up and up. So we figure a lot of people out there are shopping right now, and maybe us bouncing some ideas off of each other may help somebody who is thinking about an RV, maybe give them a couple ideas of what they should be looking at when they're shopping around, because there is no shortage on features when it comes to an RV. No matter what the size.
Yeah, you can get almost anything now.
Yeah, and we're going to break it down from power to water and sewer, the kitchen, the living quarters. So we don't break it into like little sections. I'm hoping that we just help somebody out who is shopping and maybe give them a couple ideas what we looked for. We were full timing, but I think a lot of it falls over to part timing and weekenders and everything like that too. I think all this stuff is just as important no matter how you're using your RV. Some things might be a little bit more important than others, but starting with the power system. Now there's some things that we agree on, some things that we don't agree on, but starting with the power system, we both agree that we want solar.
Yeah, definitely.
So, some type of solar. No matter what we would buy today, we'd like to see some type of solar. I think we both would want it to be expandable, that we could easily add more to it. And our RV companies are getting there. I'm seeing solar more and more. I don't think they put a ton of solar on there, so I would say my bare minimum for solar now on a new RV has to be at least a 200 watt minimum. Give me that at least to start with, and then let me expand it from there.
Yeah, I agree with that. I immediately upgraded. Mine came with 160 watts of solar.
Oh, that's good.
But on our previous RV, we had a lot more than that. So in ours, that was the first thing to upgrade for us, was to have more solar power.
And you upgraded to how much, Sean? What do you have now on your Arctic Fox?
860 watts.
That's a lot, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's in a
Yeah, that's
29
plenty.
foot. Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I have 380. So our RV was 2016 when we bought it. It did not come with any solar. So all the solar that we have, our 2 panels up there, are 180 watts a piece. So we have 360 at the moment. And even that, our power consumptions, yours and ours, are very different. So my 360 works for us.
Mm-hmm.
360 probably won't work maybe for you guys.
No.
That's not saying I wouldn't mind having 800.
But I think you're right. I mean, having 200 on there is a good way to get a feel for what you're going to use, how, if you're going to need to upgrade, how much you might need to upgrade to. And it's enough to keep your batteries topped off if you're plugged in most of the time.
Yeah, I think it's a good starter. It's a good, great starter, just as long as they make it easy to expand on.
One thing I would like to add to this part, though, is that, like, for our Arctic Fox, when I went to upgrade the solar, and I think it's because when they build these RVs, they kind of build, the wiring goes in before the skin and the insulation and all that. So they don't make it easy to upgrade the wiring. It's not like an easy path to follow if you're going to upgrade the wiring. So I ended up having to make some of my own paths for wiring, because, when you go from 200 watts to 860 watts, you need heavier gauge wiring to be able to hold that power without overheating and stuff. So I would like to see them have a path that you can follow as far as the wiring goes.
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't think about the different gauges too, that you're going to be, even if they have a channel or a way for you to go, it needs to be large enough so that you can put on a nice system up there and not, that makes sense.
Yeah,
for
the
me,
hardest part was running the wire.
Yeah, same here for me. I mean, I had no paths. I had no, like I said, when I bought mine, it didn't come with any solar whatsoever. So I had to run everything from scratch, and it's intimidating. So if the RV, it's scary to drill a hole in your roof.
Yeah.
So if the manufacturers could really just lay out a nice, like Sean's saying, a nice path that's large enough to handle the higher gauge wires and everything like that. Yeah. Don't make us scared.
Yeah.
Make it as easy as possible for us. And then, Sean and I have notes up here, and I can see I said that a 2,000 watt inverter, well, I said or more.
Or more, yeah.
And Sean said 3,000. Sean would like to see a 3,000 watt or more so that he can run the AC and other items. I think for me, Sean, it's like mine came with, again, it's 2016. Mine came with a 1,000 watt inverter, and it's still what we have. I never upgraded it. So for me, I'm like, but I'm limited. I can't run my microwave. I can't run my AC, but I'm thinking if I had a 2000 watt inverter, I could at least run my microwave. And that would be a big deal for the way we travel, to stop at a rest area. So I didn't have to turn on the generator just to heat something up in the microwave, make our quick lunch, because our microwave is also our convection oven. And it would be great if I could just run that off of the batteries. So, but 3000 would definitely be nicer.
Yeah, because like we can run our AC and then still have other things on, and it's not taxing that 3000 watt inverter at all.
I mean, when you get up to a 3000, you're not that far off from 30 amp service.
Yeah.
Right? 30 amp service is 3600 watts. I think it is what it equals to be, like works out to be, or something like that. So, and that's what some of these vans do nowadays. A lot of these vans give you that type of power. And there are RV, like somebody might be listening and be like, well, who's going to give you a 3000 watt inverter? They do. Sean and I are not like saying this is like what we wish the RV industry would do. This is out there right now. You can get RVs with 3000 watt inverters or more.
Yeah.
and they literally drive and move around freely, unplugged, but have that feeling of having 30 amp service like all the time. So that's pretty incredible what's out there right now. 30 charge controller is what I would like to see as like a starting point. That's a decent amount. That's what I have in my rig. That's what I have in my RV. I think with my 2 panels up on the roof, plus my portable panels that I'll break out every once in a while, if we're going to be like parked for a long time, boondocking, I think the most I've ever seen is maybe 22 amps coming in on the brightest of days outside of Las Vegas. So that would be 360, 460, 560 watt of panels. You must have more. You must have a larger
85
charge
amp.
controller. 85. You're probably Bluetooth, right? You can probably maybe.
Yes.
Yeah. See, mine's not a smart charge controller, so maybe I should have added that too. Do you find that you use the smart capability of your charge controller?
No.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No. I mean, once it's set up, once you have everything hooked up, there's not really much to do.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, but I wasn't 100% sure. All right, so we both say that you don't need the smart charger, but you do want some type of smart way to monitor your batteries.
Yes.
I didn't write that down. I should have wrote that down, because we both use Victron battery monitors, and they're Bluetooth. We can look, pick up our phone or a tablet or a computer and see exactly what's happening with batteries. We know how much is coming in. We know how much is going out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's how I was able to come up with that a little over 60 hours of running this system in here tonight, is because of the Victron. And it's, Sean and I both have said, it's kind of addictive to see, it's kind of curious. You can tell, I mean, if a cloud comes in and blocks a panel, you see it instantly. Or, what I found that was really good for also is when I was using my portable panels outside of Vegas, I could like turn and twist my panels and take a look at the app, because it's all live and instant, and like really dial it in to where I was getting the maximum amount of sunlight as far as the tilt and the turn on the panel. So
yeah, that's good for portable panels.
I'm going to throw that in there. I'm going to add that. I would like to see some type of battery monitor system that's portable enough that like Bluetooth, that I can like look at it with my phone. I can go outside and take it with my phone, or it's nice that, I mean, of course it's nice to have the monitor in the RV, but I really like the freedom of walking around with it and checking it whenever I feel like I can check it while I'm laying in bed. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting lazy.
And then you said cellular and Wi-Fi pre-wiring.
I like the pre-wire idea because there are so many, like I have Shore Call, but not everybody maybe wants a Shore Call. There's WeBoost. That's a very popular brand. So I was thinking, maybe they should just pre-wire it, because some people do like to choose components. I really like our Shore Call. I'm not saying anything bad about WeBoost, but I would want to go with the Shore Call. Wi-Fi booster, same thing. There's a lot of manufacturers. You can get the domes, you can get the Wi-Fi extenders that I'm drawing a blank on, but there's the PEP waves, there's all types of systems. So if they could just have it pre-wired, or again, like Sean said, give us a large enough path that we can run our own wires easily and put what we want up there. Again, it's more of like, if I don't have to, I don't want to drill holes in my roof and break my warranty, which is really what I guess what it comes down to. I mean, I don't want leaks either,
Right.
but I don't want to break the warranty. And then if I do get a leak, they're like, well, this roof probably wasn't leaking before you drilled a hole in it. Yeah. And then it's a big, any manufacturer and insurance companies always just look for that way out. So
Yeah, I like the idea of pre-wiring too, because like we use a PEP wave and we really like the PEP wave, like you like your shirt call. So yeah, I would rather put my own in after purchasing than rely on what the manufacturer puts on there.
yeah, that's what I was thinking. Let us choose what goes up there. If they want to, like, I don't know if they got deals or something like that and they can offer one or the other, or maybe that would be a decent way to go. I think some RV manufacturers are offering things out. They're just starting to offer like add-ons to things like that. So that's always a nice option too. If it's a large RV, like a fifth wheel, a toy hauler, or a big diesel pusher, 50 amp service. I mean, I would even like to have 50 amp service in this small class A, because with one thing you might not know if you're newer to RVing or you're just looking at RVs and you're like, well, 30 to 50, it doesn't sound like that big of a deal. It is a big difference between a 30 amp and a 50 amp service. I'm not 100% sure why they call it 50 amp service, because it's actually in reality a 100 amp service. A 50 amp plug has 4 prongs on it. It's going to be hard to maybe say over the podcast, but those 4 prongs, you got your ground, and 2 of those prongs, one is 50 and the other one is 50, giving you 100 amp. On a 30 amp, you have 3 prongs, so only one of them is a 30 amp. There is no 4th prong for another 30 amp. Why it's called 50 amp, I'm sure there's a reason that I can't think of right now, but there is a huge difference between 30 amp and 100 amp at service. So 100 amp service, you have 50 amp.
No,
right?
I do. Yeah, I do. But
I thought you did.
But we mostly plug into 30 amp because the only reason why we have 50 is because the Arctic Fox that we purchased has an extra AC in it, which we never use. We pretty much only hook up to 30 amp now.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay. See, I was thinking, my thinking is, well, for 2 reasons. 50 amp service, I feel that gives me so much amperage. It doesn't matter what we run. It'd be very difficult for us to trip our breaker. I know it's not a big deal. You trip a breaker, you just flip it. But I just figure, and I know you say you don't use your second AC that much. I would, because I'm always hot. So I would like, and we talk about this a little later, I think, but I would like a second AC. And when we get to that point, I'll talk a little bit more about it. It's more than just for me. It's more than just for me for that second AC. That's all I'll say for right now.
So yeah, I'm really happy with our first RV was a toy hauler, and we had 50 amp, and it does limit you as far as, sometimes you go to a state park and all they have is 30 amp service. So that limits there's a reason why it's 50 amp, right? Because there's so much, it's power hungry. And so you can't use everything like you would normally at going into a 50 amp hookup. So I kind of like the 30 amp. We don't use very much other than charging our laptops and maybe watching some TV, and then just all the normal appliances. So we don't really feel like we're missing much with only having 30 amp service. But again, we have a small fifth wheel, so.
Let me ask you this too, Sean. Do you use your solar to supplement any of that when you're using the 30 amp? Because you do have a pretty super solar battery setup. Well, not really, I guess.
Not really, no.
Because there wouldn't really be much, once you're plugged in, I guess there really wouldn't be much of a sense. Okay, just checking. Yeah, just checking. Because you taught me actually a really cool trick about the solar. And when you're plugged into like a monthly area that charges you for electricity, use your solar to supplement.
Yeah.
And not always be, keep it plugged in, but you don't necessarily need to be drawing the power all the time. And you can save on an electric bill. So I love that trick.
Water and sewer. I think we pretty much agree on this one, on on what we want in there. Again, water and sewer is not that complicated. I did think about something additional that I'll get to at the end, but I guess we can go through what's on the list right now.
Okay. So definitely for me, black tank flush. And for anybody listening, I mean, that's just an easy way. You hook up a separate hose to your black tank, and it runs water into that tank and helps you clean up, break up everything that's in that black tank. You do it while your valve is open, and you can just flush any, this helps you get accurate sensor readings. It helps you with odor control. The other way to do it, because if you don't have that, then you got to buy what they call a wand, and you stick it down the toilet and you swirl it around. It's so much easier just to connect on the outside of your RV, and it actually does it for you. It's going into a tube that spins. Think of almost like a water sprinkler that you saw all the time back in the 80s and 90s, for anybody that's old enough to remember the 80s and 90s.
But that, we've had them on both our RVs, have had black tank flush, but we've seen them without the black tank flush. So
I see them a lot without. Yeah.
It seems like a no-brainer to have that on there, but yeah, I've seen them without. So it is something that you have to look for.
Black tank flush is one of my must-haves, because I've used the one before, and it's not fun. You got to run a water hose into your RV through your door or window, connected to the wand, run it down into the toilet, and you got to stick the wand all the way down in the toilet. Now, when you're done with it, you're pulling this thing out of your toilet. You got to wrap it up or do something with it. Nope. I've given them a try just to see what, I like to see how things work sometimes. I mean, it's a great thing if you don't have a black tank flush and it's your only option, of course. But yeah, you know what? I think Rhino makes something now that you can attach to their sewers, and it runs, it reverses the flow of your sewer. So instead of that, when you open the valve, things come out, you can flush it in.
Yeah.
I'm almost positive Rhino makes something.
Yeah,
so
they
that
do.
might be. So maybe there's an option that way instead of the wand. I don't know how it works, so I've never tried that one. I need to give it a try. Gravity fill is something that I will always must have, because it doesn't sound like a big deal. So gravity fill just means that you can fill up your freshwater tank without having pressurized water. It's literally what it sounds like. You're just dumping water into your tank through a nozzle that's on the side of your RV on the outside. And the reason that I love a gravity fill is when Sabrina and I were full-timing, we would be traveling in the winter a lot. And a lot of the places that we would go would have their water shut off. Like everywhere we would hit states and states after state after state that said, no, sorry, our water's turned off. You can't use our water at, the Flying J's or Pilots or anybody, like gas stations. They just wouldn't let us use their water. So we would carry 6-gallon water jugs with us, and then we'd refill our water that way. And then whenever we got to an area that was warm enough to fill up, we'd hook up to their water, fill up our tank, and then fill these 2 extra jugs up. But we would also use it at boondocking spots and be able to carry an extra 12 gallons of water with us when boondocking and just fill them up. I know you can do, some people set up water pumps and they can pump water in to their system that way, but I still think that's through gravity fill. I don't think anybody is setting up a temporary water pump to go into their city fill. I could be wrong about that, but that sounds like maybe it wouldn't work.
I think when you go to places that have their water turned off, that's really not an ideal camping location.
No, but we've been in the situation several times because, we were traveling for Sabrina's work. And
right. Yeah.
I mean, we were in Indiana in the wintertime. We were in Erie, PA during the winter. It's just it's just the way it was. It wasn't really that uncommon for us to be in like 10 or 15 degrees. It was, unfortunately, we were going to places that nobody else wanted to be at and that's why those hospitals needed help, because who wants to be in Erie, PA in the winter?
Yeah, not me.
People that live there don't even want it. They go down south. But yeah, that's the sign that you're not supposed to be there. If the campground's shutting the water off, why are you there? But then you would also, we were at a campground in Virginia in the winter, and they had a line break. So then they lost water, so you couldn't no pressurized water that way. And we were going to their bathroom that had water, filling up the jugs, walking them back
Wow.
to the RV and filling up that way. This is, this was RV life for us in the winter, Sean. This was pretty typical.
The last one here is like you said in the notes, it's even more important than a great power system. I would say it's that, or at least equal to a great power system.
Yeah.
And that's large water capacity, and that's not just fresh water, but the holding tanks too, I think
the holding tanks are more important than the freshwater because, with that gravity fill, you can always, to a point, you can always add more water. But once your holding tank, once your black tank and your gray tank are full, they're full. So if you're boondocking and you don't want to, your only option is to move. You can't dump, as much as people love to say, you can't dump gray water in a boondocking spot. It's not good for the habitat that you're staying in. One, they don't want you to do it. But two, we use soaps and cleaners that aren't great for vegetation and things like that. So don't be dumping your gray water into and it's one of those things that you can't upgrade. So the reason why I said, that it might be even more important than a great power system is because, we can go out, we can buy battle-born batteries, we can add more amperage, we can put solar up and increase our solar capacity. You can't really do much with your holding tanks. That's
true.
They are what they are. I mean, you can have a Rhino tank that's like separate and a 20-gallon separate tank that you fill up, then you load in the back of your truck, then you drive it somewhere, but then you're only doing like maybe 20 gallons at a time. They sell larger ones, but remember, water is 8 pounds per gallon. So the bigger that tank, the heavier that tank is that you got to manhandle.
And you got to store it somewhere.
And then you got to store it somewhere. So I think tank capacity is so overlooked. I think it's very, very important. The all of them, freshwater, your black tank, and the gray tank. And when Sabrina and I were shopping for an RV, we wanted our holding tank capacity to be higher than our freshwater capacity. We never wanted to run into a situation that we could overflow our tanks.
Oh yeah,
if that makes sense. Even if it was like by 2 to 3 gallons. So this way we knew no matter, if we had a full fresh tank of water, there was room in our tanks for it all to go to. We could always empty that into the holding tanks.
One thing I'm not sure about yet, but I would consider adding it if I want to see it in action first, is one of those recyclers, like when you're trying to get hot water. So it cycles the water until the water's hot, and then so you're not wasting fresh water, I guess.
Yeah, I haven't tried that yet either. And I don't know if it's just new or if it's just slow to get into the market, but I think I like that idea a lot. It makes sense. I've even seen them talk about homes where you can save your propane heat at home for cost. But for an RV, it's more, you don't want to lose that water. You don't want the water to go down the drain, but at a home, it's more about cost. I really like the idea that research, they have, there is a name for it and I cannot remember, but it recirculates the water. Once the water gets hot, you just turn the recirculator off and you now have hot water instead of waiting the 60 seconds for it to heat up.
You probably waste probably a gallon.
I think it's a gallon. I think people have done YouTube videos on it, and it's usually takes 1 gallon of water before the water gets hot. And I've seen a lot of boondockers where they'll say what they do is they'll fill up that water into a gallon container, like a pitcher, and then they use that to flush the toilet. And I think that's a great way to, that's a great workaround. But I think the recirculator is a better idea.
Yeah. I just haven't seen one in action, so I don't,
same here.
I don't understand it enough to say I would actually want it, but it's a possibility.
I don't think it's an easy install afterwards. So it should be, that's something that we want by the factory. And I say it's not an easy install afterwards because, you got to keep in mind that it needs all the plumbing to be able to go from the faucet all the way back to your fresh water tank again. So there's a line that you would have to run some way to get that and then pump it back up. And it should be coming right from the dealers. And I know Winnebago has one in a van. I'm almost positive when I was talking to Russ Garfin, one of their vans has it, but I haven't seen it. I just haven't seen it in action yet. So next, we're moving on to setup. I like auto jacks, auto leveling jacks, but I'll take power leveling jacks too. It doesn't necessarily need to be auto. In fact, I do find myself often leveling manually. I'm not sure if you do that, Sean, or
No,
use your
no,
auto.
I use auto almost all the time, unless I'm at a weird angle or something, then I'll manually do it. But 99% of the time I use auto.
Okay. I use the manual more than I thought I would. So when I say manual, I'm not cranking anything. But it's still a push button. I'm just pushing the buttons while sitting in the captain's chair. But I find the auto, and I've recalibrated it and it made it better, but maybe I'm just particular. I feel like I do a better job of leveling the RV than, I'd like the steps to be a certain height off the ground. So I like the option of the manual, but definitely power. I see guys out there and girls out there with travel trailers, and they're like cranking their jacks down sometimes, or they'll hook up like a DeWalt drill and run. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm spoiled, Sean. I don't. That's what most of this list comes down to, is just that, especially when you're full time and you're setting up and breaking down so often, you want any way to make that process a little easier. You want to be able to enjoy the campground faster and easier. And I know the other side of that, people would say, well, that's another thing to break.
Yeah, for sure.
Which,
we had hydraulic leveling in our old RV, and after 3 years we started blowing hydraulic lines, and that's just a messy job to fix.
Yeah. And it's maintenance too. Like I just told you, this week I was refilling or leveling off my auto leveler, the fluid in there, and it's not in a great position to try to get the quart container in there. So, I mean, it is, Sean and I are trying to show you both sides of things, I guess, in a sense. But that said, I'll still take the auto levelers, even with the maintenance and the chance of them failing, because worst case scenario, I can always put a block under the tire to get it level, if that's what I have to do until I can get them fixed again.
The other thing I would say about the levelers is I would like to have snap pads on my levelers before I left the dealer.
Yeah, I would like to see snap pads offered right from the dealer too, although they're pretty easy to put on. It's not like it's not terrible to put on.
If they didn't offer them, maybe I would have them waiting, so I put them on right there, so the first place I stop and level, they're on.
Yeah, you're already good to go. I was thinking too, the nice thing about having the manufacturer do it is, when we've had snap pad on the show a couple times, the biggest question they get is what size fits my RV, and that would be out of the equation. Like it would just be ready to go. There is no guesswork. Will this particular snap pad fit my leveling jacks? Because as we found out, there's like a lot of different jack sizes, and sometimes I think it was Kent that was telling us that sometimes you will have two different sized jacks on the same rig. So yeah, you know what, Rashawn, you're right about that. It would be nice that they were just on and there's no guesswork of which one do I actually need.
And then you said all hookups enclosed.
Yeah, and that's again comes back to Sabrina and I always RVing in the worst locations for winter when we were full timing. So I like to have the sewer and the water connections all inside a cabinet or a cargo bay where they're staying warm. I'm not a big fan of the sewer connections like hanging down where they could get like bumped or rubbed on a curb or a rock or anything like that. But it's really more of just temperature control for me. I like everything in our cabinets and in our cargo bays. That's something I appreciate seeing.
Yeah, I don't mind, I guess. Our sewer hookups are underneath, outside, and our fresh water fill is outside as well. I like having the fresh water fill outside because it's just easier to do it.
I could see that. Yeah.
But it is behind a locked door. Well, so it is inside, I guess. There's a little locking. There's just a little locking closure to it, but
Yeah.
it's not, I don't know, it's not exactly inside.
Is that a seal that goes around the door?
No, I think it's just to keep somebody
Debris.
from
Oh,
peeing in your freshwater thing or something, you know.
okay. Okay. Because I was always say, my city water inlet is in a cargo bay, but my freshwater gravity fill is behind a door, but it does seal. Like when I close it, there is a seal. My gravity fill is pretty high up. That'd be that'd be some main. That'd be like a hook shot.
But I think, yeah, ours doesn't have a seal. It's just a thin plastic kind of cover that goes over it that has a little lock on it.
Okay. In fact, now that I'm really don't get nitpicky here, I wish my gravity fill was actually lower, because when I'm picking up the 6-gallon water jugs, I put them up on my shoulder to actually fill.
Oh, that is tall then.
That's how high it is. Yeah. Yeah. I sit it on my shoulder to fill it. I'm getting nitpicky now, but I would like to see the gravity fill. But I get it. Our tanks are high up off the ground, so the gravity fill's got to be above that, obviously, for gravity to be able to fill.
Yeah. Yeah, it's different probably in a Class A versus a towable, because you have those cabinets underneath and everything. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a difference. And I've seen your sewer hookups, even though yours are exposed, I still feel like you have a lot of clearance underneath your rig. I have seen some like Class C's that have, the sewers exposed underneath. And to me, when I look at it, I'm like, wow, that's lower than the exhaust. Looks pretty low to the ground to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's probably what I'm basing that off of. So next we got is living quarters. I like to say living quarters. I like when RVs have, this is your kitchenette area, this is your dining area, this is your bedroom. It's not always the case, but more and more RVs are doing that. They're trying to get them. Even vans have like a little kitchenette area, and this is your sitting area. We both agreed on this one. Usable space when the slides are in are such a big deal. Access. Sean kind of highlighted these things that I didn't really say what that meant, but yeah, access to your bathroom, access to your kitchen, and access to your bed. You'd be surprised that, some people can't use the bed with a slide in, or they have a difficult time opening that. There's not enough room for them to open their bathroom door to get into the bathroom, or get access to the kitchen, be able to open the refrigerator, your microwave. All those things are like super important, because you can't, when you're traveling, you can't always maybe put a slide out. You're not always in an area that's going to let you do that. You might actually find the more you use your RV, the more times that you're in those situations that you can't put the slide out.
Just to stop to have lunch. I mean, in our first RV, we could not get access to the kitchen when the slides were in. So you'd have to either move the slide out a little bit to get in there, or pack everything that you wanted for lunch beforehand and have it ready so you could just grab it.
That's a great example, because we do that all the time. We stop for lunch all the time, and there's like a little parking lot somewhere. But that's a really great example for you that you mentioned that, Sean, because I would have never guessed that. Because if anybody doesn't know, the RV that you're talking about is like a 43-foot fifth wheel. I would have never guessed that you did not have access to your kitchen, just because the RV is so big. I would think there was plenty of room to have that access.
The refrigerator would slide up against the pantry.
Gotcha.
So you couldn't open either one.
So don't even take that for granted then, as far as like the size of the RV. Go in, take a look at it, what the RV looks like with the slides in, because just because it's a monster RV or a huge RV, Class A, whatever it is, fifth wheel, you might be surprised that you can't access. Oh, I would have never guessed that, Sean. Just like I said, based off of the size of the RV. And this one's probably not, the next one is probably not like a huge deal for everybody, but I'm still kind of surprised when I see TVs in not the greatest location when you're sitting on there's sometimes they'll mount them like where you got to turn your entire head sideways or sit sideways to see it. So I think a comfortable position for the TV. Of course, we're camping and we're outdoor. We're supposed to be hiking but some days it rains, and some days, some days you might want to binge.
Some days it snows where you go.
Some days it snows. That's true. Yeah, some days the weather just is not that great to be outside, so you want to be able to watch TV and maybe binge watch Game of Thrones, and that's hours and hours and hours of TV. You took it a step further, and you said that you would like to see smart TVs in all the RVs. That's a great point.
Yeah, because then you eliminate extra wiring that you need
Yeah,
to hook stuff up to it. So if it's just a smart TV, like in our house, all our TVs are smart. So you turn it on, it connects to whatever through Wi-Fi, and you're good to go.
yeah, that's a good point. Especially with the, like you said, wiring. It makes me think of my TV. Our TV is not a smart TV, so we got a wire going to the Roku for power, and then another HDMI that goes from the Roku to the. It's not the cleanest looking setup, and it does bother me every time I look at it. I'm like, I really need to sit down someday and come up with a way that I can have this Roku kind of maybe tucked in behind the TV here, because that's all we use anymore. It's like, I think you guys use streaming a
Yep.
lot too. Like
Yep.
everything's streamed. I hardly ever use our. In fact, I don't even have an HD antenna anymore because it got knocked off, and I was like, we barely use the thing, so I just capped it. I think you did something
Yep,
very
I did
similar.
the same thing.
Yeah, because we weren't using the HD, and not that it doesn't work, because it does work. I was always surprised of all the channels that we were able to get with an HD antenna, but we just, we're just streaming all the time. No commercials. Yeah, so a comfortable seating position and for your TV. And I definitely agree with Sean. That was a good point. The smart TV, reduce the wires and just make things more streamlined. So Sean this is one place that Sean and I would love to have 2 AC units, one of them needing to be a heat pump. Sean barely uses his second AC. I don't think I would ever turn my second AC off. But I like it cold. I really like it cold.
We're 30 feet, so one AC keeps it fine with, we have fans and stuff, so it keeps everything cool enough. The second AC in the bedroom, it would freeze us if we were if we were to use it at night. We just keep our other one on. The main, I call it the main AC, but the AC in the main living area is ducted back to the bedroom, so we're getting cool air back there. So I just don't, depending on the size. Now in our 44 footer, we had 3 ACs. So, and it needed them, but in our 30 foot, the 1 AC seems to be fine. I think the ducting is important when you talk about ACs. Like if it's just blowing from the AC unit, that would probably be a different story. But when they're ducted and they're covering all the areas you need, then that makes a huge difference, I think.
Yeah, ducting. Yeah, that I should have added that to the list. That's a must-have. Also, is the duct work to be able to pump the AC into the bathroom, into the bedroom, like all of your rooms, and it makes it a little quieter instead of just dumping it. I think they call it like dumping right from the unit. I'm going to go back to the fact that like when Sabrina and I were in the RV, again, we were not in the most desirable locations. So we would be like in Arizona in the summertime and in Florida in the summertime. And the 1 AC, when it was like 95 degrees and sunlight, it struggled it would keep us cool. And for the most part, like something like Florida, just getting the humidity out of the RV would be a huge deal. But I'm going to go with 2 ACs for a peace of mind thing, because we got Belle, and we always worried if something would happen with the AC and would break or shut down, the compressor, whatever, freeze, that she would be left in there with no backup. And we always thought it would be nice to have 2 ACs. If one compressor would freeze up or shut down, at least the other one would still be running. So it was like kind of a redundancy type of thing, but also I really like it cold.
Yeah, redundancy is not a bad idea. And I think the heat pump is a great idea too, because it saves you on propane.
So much on propane. We got lucky with the heat pump. When we were shopping around for our RV, we didn't know that the heat pump was really all important. We knew it had one, and I looked into it and I was like, that's great. But I had no idea how much we use the heat pump a lot. So much, because the heat pump works all the way down to like 40 degrees. And like you said, it's great for saving propane. It's a great alternative. It'll save. And the price of propane is really going up. And at the campgrounds, your electricity is already included in the night stay. So I am trying to remember what I just paid for propane. It was really high here in Arizona. It was
I think
definitely
you
over
said it was
$3.
three something,
I think it's
367.
360 something. Yeah,
Yeah.
like 360 a gallon. I mean that, and a furnace in the RV. I mean, it goes through propane quick. Like it you can cook in an RV using your propane probably a year or two, but one winter of using the furnace will knock out your propane. Not even a whole winter. You don't even need a whole winter to knock out your propane. The furnace is very propane hungry, but it works so fast though, which is nice, and it heats up the whole place. It's a better feeling heat, I would say, from the propane compared to the heat pump, and it's a more we're ducted, so I guess it doesn't really. Yeah, but then you're under 30. I was going to say, but the furnace heats our under bays and keeps our holding tanks warm, but the heat pump only works down to 40 degrees anyway, so colder than that you're not freezing obviously at 40 tanks and stuff like that. So any colder than that, then it would be the furnace anyway. So never mind. I take that back.
And then you wanted a workstation
For Sabrina, and you added little notes here that I forget to talk about: the USB 12-volt options. I know for like Sabrina, the workstation that she has up front, she's got they don't call them cigarette lighters anymore, so I guess they're just 12-volt. She's got a 12-volt outlet. She's got 2 USB outlets in her workstation, and she has 2 110s all right there in her passenger seat, and the table folds down. And that's where she does, while we were traveling, that's like her little work area. And she had everything that she needed right there, cup holders. And
Yeah, I like having like a USBs in the kitchen, USBs by like where I sit and watch TV, USBs in the bedroom for sure, 12 volt, the cigarette lighter type in the bedroom for CPAP or things like that. And if you're boondocking and you're running off your batteries, it's more efficient to run as much as you can directly off 12 volt instead of having to go through your inverter, have it convert to 110.
So again, going back to my coaches of 2016, we did not have USB in the bedroom, and I installed USB to run off the 12 volt for that reason: boondocking, staying overnight at Flying J, or anything like that. Just so that we could charge our phones in the back of the bedroom, because before that we were using like the little separate power banks, the little, rectangular or circular, whatever they are. And they would charge our phones overnight so that I could run my white noise and stuff like that. So I have a question for you, Sean, that I don't know the answer to, obviously, since I'm asking you. So when you see a USB inside the 110 outlets, will those USBs work off the battery in an RV, or they are? Oh,
Ours
okay.
do. I mean, that's the way
they
ours
do.
is set up. Yeah.
I didn't know about it. I wasn't sure if it like was doing some type of converting and change, like knocking it down to DC. That's great. Oh, so that's good to know. Yeah, I would definitely look for that then. Like Sean's saying, yeah, you want as many USBs as possible. Almost everything's running off USBs now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, except for the laptop itself, everything else that we use can be USB, as far as electronics go.
Yeah. Sabrina and I even have little flashlights that charge up through USB. I'm trying to think. I know there's something else that I am missing that we use that runs off USB a lot, and I'm just drawing a total blank on it. And I'm going to be upset after we're done. Like,
And I use a CPAP, so I like having that 12 volt outlet there to be able to run the CPAP using 12 volt, because it's a lot more efficient and it's just easy to run it that way at night.
Do you see that 12 volt being common now in the newer RVs in the bedroom?
Yeah, like our Arctic Fox, it's a 2019. It came with one in there.
Okay, because I don't have 12 volt back here, but I thought maybe, I don't know, I wasn't sure if that was because it's a 2016 thing. Even though people were using CPAPs in 2016, it's not like it's it's not a new thing. But okay, so you did find though that yours the Artifox came with a 12 volt in the back.
Yeah,
that's nice. So you had 12 volt in the back and you had USB in the back already. All
yeah,
standard.
We have one 12 volt outlet and then 4 USB.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Do you have power on both sides of the bed?
Yes.
Oh, that's really good too. Because that's one of my new must-haves is, power on, because we have 110 on one side, but we don't have it on the other side. So I ran like a heavy gauge extension cord underneath our mattress and up so that Sabrina could like plug stuff into. But that was before I wired us up for USB. Now I'm not even sure if she uses this extension cord that I ran through.
And when we're boondocking, we have 12 USB powered fans that we use in the bedroom.
That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
We use 12. Yep. We use them too. They're great.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the thing that we use a lot of that I couldn't think of what it was. Yeah. The little fans. Yeah. We love those little fans. We got like 4 of them, I think. 3. Maybe we have 3 of them. I think we have 3 that are USB and one that's like a 110 outlet that's like an older style. Kitchen is really just a really big one for me. I have a lot of must-haves for kitchen. I have to have a lot of, well, same with you and Julie. Like we do a lot of our meals in the RV, even though we're traveling and part of the experience of places is food. We don't go out every night for food. I mean, 99%, I think Sabrina and I are making our meals inside the RV. So a large countertop for meal prep, convection oven. I really like having a convection oven. The propane oven we use, but I would be fine with just a convection oven, yank the propane oven out and put storage in there. Like we don't use the propane up. The only times that we've used both has been like for holidays where we're making a big meal or something like that or having company. But it didn't happen that much because we could always cook on the grill outside. There's other options. So I'm okay without the propane oven. I really like the convection oven. Once I got used to it, that was really good. We have Cornian countertops here in our RV, and I don't know what else there is as far as options for countertops, but these things have been like unbelievably resilient to everything that we throw at them. I really like these Cornian countertops. In fact, when we bought our house, we were happy to see that the house had them as well, because they look the same today as they did back in 2016. They've really held up well. Something newer that's out now is low amp compressor refrigerators. I would just like to see every single RV switch to these low amp compressor fridges. They're quiet. They don't use a lot of power. They're very modern looking.
Yeah, and you've actually used one, right? In the RV that Sabrina had.
Yep, we had the Vita, and that compressor refrigerator in that RV, it just sipped power. It wasn't power hungry at all. It was quiet. Very impressed with these low amp compressor refrigerators. And there's a couple companies Dometics making them. Other companies are making them. Really, really like that. I cannot say enough good things about that compressor fridge. It doesn't matter what angle you are parked at or driving at or level. Like it is just, they're really nice. Pantry, something that we use all the time in our RV is the pantry, not just for, I mean, of course, our canned goods and dry goods, but air fryer, maybe a Instapot. So it's nice to have a pantry and a little bit of storage. I didn't even talk about the burner, but I was thinking 3 burner, but you mentioned, do you have a 4 burner now, Sean?
We do. Yeah.
Nice.
We have a 4 burner and it's great. And we actually use our propane oven a lot, even though we have a convection oven. So I think I would want to keep it. I would want to keep it for now. Yeah. And then I would also add on the counter space, like you were just talking about, like the Instant Pot or an espresso machine or an air fryer. You know, if you want to use that stuff, have counter space to be able to set it up and use it without interrupting the cooking that you're going to do on your stove or in your convection oven.
Yeah, and outlets there to use them.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that's something that Sabrina and I did. I'm sure Sean and Julie did this too. Like, you know, you almost kind of like play house when you go into the RV. You kind of imagine what are the things that you want to do, what's important to you. That was like one of the things that we started to do is like kind of pretend what your days would look like in the RV to see, all right, well, you know, I make my coffee. I'm going to plug my coffee maker into and be like, oh, where am I going to plug my coffee maker into? So those are like, you almost want to play like, I don't know what you would want to call it, but yeah, just play house for a little bit and see how would you, you know, where do you get your clothing from? Where are you going to change? Do you have room to stand and change? Or are you like hopping on one foot, sit on the toilet and see what your knees bang into? Things like that, you know, space in the bathroom. Wow, bathroom's next. Full bath and large shower is what we have written down. I didn't even notice that when I said that about sitting. Yeah, so you
When
want
you say full bath, what do you mean by full bath, Kenny?
So we're not. So Sabrina and I are both not fans of the wet bath where the toilet is
Okay.
inside the shower. I'm sure it works for plenty of people, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. It's just this mental thing that I don't want my toilet in the shower. I have no idea why. Like, I know it's not a big deal, but it is one thing that we have never really. Well, I'll also say that like Sabrina and I are big people. Sabrina's like 6 feet tall. She's got long legs, long arms. I'm 5'10", 5'11", 220 pounds. I take up a lot of space too. I don't need the toilet to help in taking up any extra space in the shower. I need all the space I can get. Yeah, I really like the full bath or a large shower. I mean, if the toilet's on be in there with me, then give me enough space that I don't even know it's in there with me. I don't. But I guess if that was the case, then why would, if you had that much space, the toilet wouldn't be in the shower with you. I don't know. Is that something that bothers you guys? Like, would
No.
you buy? No. So yeah, I know it's just. I know it's just something that's with Sabrina and I that we do not like the. Yeah. What do they call them? Wet bath. They call them wet baths. I think. Why do they call them? I'm sure I can't think of why. Porcelain sinks, and Sean said make sure it's a deeper sink, which is we definitely agree with.
Yeah, like our bathroom sink right now is pretty shallow.
Okay.
So it's really not good for anything that you would want to fill a sink with and do. It's only good for brushing your teeth where you're just running water and maybe shaving. But if you had to fill that sink up, I mean, you might as well just use a coffee cup.
And people might be like, well, why is that a big deal? It's a big deal because you don't want to be making a mess.
Exactly.
The larger the sinks are, because I'm really big on that with the kitchen sinks. I wanted deep kitchen sinks for the same reason. You don't want to, the shallower the sink is, the more of a mess you're gonna make. But and it's just more comfortable to have like a normal size, what you have at home, just something that what you're used to having. So one of the things, so we did have a deep sink in our bathroom, but our faucet was short.
Yes.
Or shallow, I guess you could say. So like you'd go to wash your hand, you'd have all this space in the sink. Like I said, it's a decent sized sink, but your hands would be like banging up against the back of. So I removed that faucet and replaced it with like, a faucet, just a regular faucet that we got at Home Depot. And what a difference did that make? It made no sense to us. I mean, no RV's gonna be perfect, and they all cut something somewhere, and in this one in particular, it was the faucet in the bathroom. I mean, there's other areas too, I'm sure, but that was just one example of it.
Yeah, ours has that too, the short faucet.
Yeah, give us a decent faucet so that we're not like banging. You're trying to wash your hands and keep them clean, and you're like brushing your hand all up against the back of the sink trying to get your hands wet. Just little things like that. But again, that's something that you can kind of, you can't run the water most of the time when you're walking through the RVs. But, take a look at the shower head, take a look at the faucets, take a look at the sinks. How deep are they? How much space do you have? How many plates can you put into the kitchen sink? Is it a double or is it a single? Those type of things. Well, we talked about the bedroom a little bit, but there's USBs and another. This again might be a pet peeve of Sabrina and I, and maybe it's just that I'm getting older, but I like having a walk around bed, and not so much because I walk around the bed, but it makes making the bed and keeping the bed sheets onto the bed so much easier.
If somebody has to get up at night and go to the bathroom,
yes,
they're not crawling over the other person.
Yeah, it comes in handy having a walk around bed. Yeah, I would say that's a must-have for us. I think having a walk-around bed is more important. Like we have a queen right now. I'd rather be able to walk around our queen than switch to a king and not be able to get around. And like you said, crawl over, the next person. I think it'd make it difficult to set up your sheets and stuff like that. Yeah, I like having a walk-around bed. Wardrobe, we really like having our wardrobe. And another one is we have a solid bedroom door. When Sabrina, again, I keep going back to the fact that, we were traveling around and she was working, but she would be on night shift a lot of times. So in the day, she'd be in the back of the RV trying to sleep. And it was nice that we had like a regular solid door that we could close. I mean, because of regulations, there are gaps at the bottom. I think that has something to do with fire or smoke. I don't even know why they have to, but you'll always notice, like even in a bathroom door, there's a gap at the top of the, like every door in an RV has a gap, and it's there by code. But it does make a big difference to close this door. So I'd be quiet out there, but not maybe as quiet. It's just nice to have a solid door, and it's nice to be able to like say, all right, this is the bedroom, and close the door. Again, it goes back to like saying this is our bedroom, this is our living area, this is our kitchen type of thing.
I think the other thing I would add in the bedroom is I think that's where LED lights really come in handy, especially if you get some that are adjustable. It's not as harsh as the fluorescent or traditional light bulb.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's put LED everywhere.
Yeah.
Even the headlights. Let's get LEDs.
Yeah, let's get LED headlights.
Now, I like what you just said, though, about it being dimmable. I never even thought of that. That would be a great option for especially somebody like you that likes to read, Sean. Like I mentioned binge watching Game of Thrones. You're binge reading Game of Thrones. But that'd be nice to have like reading lamps and adjustability for the LEDs.
Yeah, in ours we have our living areas dimmable LEDs, but the bedroom isn't. So I would like to have it in the bedroom as well.
Okay. I don't have dimmable lights anywhere except for, nope, that's not dimmable. I was going to say up in the driver area. Only my dash is dimmable. Yeah, dimmable would be a nice feature. You're right, Sean.
Yeah.
Why don't I have dimmable? I guess I'm lucky in 2016 just to have LED lights.
Yeah.
Because I think that was like that cutoff. I think that was like when they were first starting to gain popularity. I think anything older than that, maybe by a year or two or something like that. I think they just starting to work their ways into RVs was the LED, but they're so much better on power too.
That's true.
They really don't use much, and they last a long time. The LEDs, they don't put out as much heat. I like the dimmable though. Yeah, we have a TV in our bedroom and we never turn it on.
Yeah, we have a hookup for a TV, but we don't have a TV in there.
Okay, in the almost 5 years now that we've had our RV, we've had this bedroom TV on less than 10 times in 5 years. I think it's less than 5 times.
And you were full-time
even. Yeah, never turned this TV on back here. Most of the time I forget it's even sitting there. I'm looking at it right now. And it might be because it's not, I don't even think it's that. It's not the greatest TV. It doesn't have the best, it's not like a great HD TV or anything like that. I don't think it would matter. I picture could have been perfect. It goes back to that I go to bed so early. I think when I come back to bed, I just go to sleep. I'm not watching TV in bed because it's more comfortable just to sit out in the recliners and watch TV out there as it is. Now that I'm thinking about it, Sean, I don't have a TV in the bedroom in the house. So it's just not a thing that we do, I guess. So, but just because we don't, you might want a TV, and that's something, again, kind of play house. Do you watch TV in bed? Do you have the option to have a TV? Like Sean, you said that you have the option to put one there. You don't have one there, but if you wanted to, you could add it on. That's always nice when they offer those things to add on later on if you wanted to add it. Was that an option from Arctic Fox? Like if you said to them, we want a TV, would you have been able to get it with the TV? Or it's just that they just pre-wire and you put in what you want to put in?
I don't know the answer. Because we didn't want one, so we didn't even. It wasn't something we would ask about.
Oh, okay. I was just curious. I think that's everything for the bedroom, and then cargo space. Oh, I see you got a little note on this one, Sean. So I said pass through storage, and you said with rolling trays. I have seen these rolling trays, and they are nice.
Yeah, my back isn't the greatest.
Same here.
And it'd be nice not to have to crawl into those things to get something sometimes. If it was on the rolling trays, it really makes a huge difference.
Yeah, because then you can get to everything that's in the back, like you said, without crawling. I should have thought of that, because when I had the vending company, I had my cargo van fitted out with a rolling tray, and I could roll out, it would roll out the back of the cargo van about 6 feet. And then I had shelves built onto it so that I could reach everywhere, because I don't have a great back. So for me to like climb in and out of the van, but this is the same thing. This is stopping you from bending down, hunching underneath a slide maybe, or or even just getting into the cargo bay without even a slide being there is not that great. So yeah, I like the rolling tray. Yeah, that's a good add-on. Lights, definitely have some lights
Oh,
inside
yeah.
these cargo bays
And know where they're at, because you don't think about turning them on until
until
it's
you
dark.
need them. Yeah, that's a good point. Only half of my cargo bays I think light up. You know what? I take that back. Only two of them. So where my sewer is lights up, and where my fresh water goes into, that has a light. And I will say I like those lights because they project. Not only do they shine inside, but they're angled so that they shine out, so that you can see where your hookups are at the campground, like on the ground and stuff like that. But on the other side, I don't have lights, so that's something that now I would look for, because anytime I got to go out there at night and get something, I'm bringing the flashlight with me.
Yeah. All of ours
So
have lights. So
that's nice.
yeah.
Yeah. So then are they triggered by the door, or are they on a switch?
Switch.
Okay. So like you said, you have to know where they are before you need them, type of thing, so that you can switch them on and off. I like that better. I wouldn't want the lights turning on every time I open the door. I feel like that would be a waste. I'm always thinking about power, I guess. Another thing is, talk about opening the doors. Make sure that the doors are large enough to actually get things in and out of. I can't tell you how many times that Sabrina and I have been to like an RV show looking at RVs. The RV will have a nice amount of cargo space, but they put these little tiny doors that don't open all the way, or they're almost, not that they're unusable, but they're not very user friendly, where you couldn't really use the great space that it had because the door was too small to get anything through it. Like you couldn't put a folding chair in there, or, well, in my case, I put my folding bikes in our cargo base.
That's
I
right.
know that's not
Yeah.
that's not really normal, but if it wasn't for the door being large enough to be able to fit our folding bikes, like I think that's something else that gets overlooked often, is just the usability of these doors.
I think you have a pet peeve about whether they open up or down versus sideways, right?
Yeah, because kind of the same thing about what, like you were mentioning with that rolling tray. I don't like when the doors open from bottom to top. I like them to swing, because when they swing, they can get completely out of the way. Sometimes when they open from bottom to top, there might be a slide, and then they really limit to just how much they can open. So now not only are you ducking under a slide that's already low, but then now you're ducking under the slide plus the door that's really low.
That's something that a lot of people don't think about when they're looking at RVs, is they focus a lot on the living area, but they don't focus a lot on the logistics of getting in and out of the storage bays.
Yeah. I mean, you're going in and out of these bays to
A
get
lot.
chairs. Yeah, to set up your campsite, basically. I mean, blocks, chairs, air compressors. Some of these items are heavy, and you're like kind of tucked underneath. I do like, I've seen it, but I don't, I would say I don't see it often, is like if you do have slides where the cargo bays move with the slide, so you're not bending underneath them. I don't see it often, but I guess that's big money. That's out of my price range. I guess that's why I never see it. I think that's a nice option. Not again, but I got a bad back, and maybe somebody in their 20s is like, it's not a big deal for me to bend down and get into a cargo bay. To me, it's a big deal. It hurts my back to do that. So yeah, usability for sure when looking at cargo bays and what you can get in there.
And then capacity. That's
Mhm.
another good point.
Yeah, a lot of people ignore that point, actually. Just because you've got large cargo bays, like how much weight can you put into your RV before you're overweight? They're all, you got listings. Usually, depending on what it is, the listings will be somewhere. For me, on my Class A, I have it on my entry door, and I have it over by my driver's seat. Sean, for your fifth wheel, where do you have your capacities at listed?
They're normally located somewhere around the kingpin on the fifth wheel. So ours are just on the side of the RV, right by where the fifth wheel kingpin is.
You need to take a look at that, see what your gross vehicle weight is, and see what your dry weight is. You actually did a whole video about this. It was more for towing, but it
Right.
comes down to the same thing. You don't want to be
exactly.
you don't want to be overloaded. What are they, Sean? That the real important ones: the gross combined vehicle weight, your GVC, that's the gross vehicle combined
Your
weight, right?
CCC, cargo carrying capacity.
Oh, see, you know what? Mine does not list a cargo carrying capacity. I had to do the math to figure out what
Yeah,
mine
sometimes you have
was.
to do the math.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And with that, you have to consider your water and
Yeah.
all that other stuff. So, yeah, you might have nice large cargo bays, but after you have your fresh water on and all your stuff inside the RV, you can't fill that space up because you'd be overweight.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's easy to go overweight. I think more than not, there are more people overweight than underweight driving on the roads. And I'm not even mentioning, towing, just how much stuff we have in our RVs. It's easy to do, but it's also easy to get weighed. You can cat scales. Escapees offers 4 point weigh stations at some of their campgrounds, which I hear is the best way to go. To be able to measure all four corners and get a weight. I just did an overall weight. I didn't do the four corner, but I do. If you're listening, I recommend doing the corner if you can. It's not always an option. So
Yeah, and like Julie and I read a lot. And when we started full timing, we went to electronic books, read on e readers, because just having so many books takes away so much weight
yeah.
from what you're able to carry.
It took me a long time to get Sabrina to drop some of her medical books, and they're like, these books are like 30 pounds a piece. But yeah, you're right. You do have the option to go to e-reading, and I mean,
Yeah.
even for her study books, you can get all that stuff in digital format, which I did not know. I asked her for years to get. It's like, do we really need to carry? I said, don't they offer this in digital? She's yeah. It's like, well, why are we carrying a 30-pound book with us? I think she just likes to give me a hard time, Sean.
So those were our ideal things that we would want in an RV, and I'm sure everybody's a little bit different. I mean, even we were a little bit different. So it's important to make a list like this though before you go shopping, so you don't get overwhelmed with the fancy stuff that you do see, and and focus on what you really desire in your RV. Because sometimes like, oh, this one has a dishwasher, but if it's not on your list, then who cares, right?
Yeah, and if the rest of the RV doesn't function that well as far as the flow of things and how you will travel, then the dishwasher isn't going to make things
Yeah.
much better. Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the glitz and glamour, and a lot of these RVs are now using like they got a real nice shine to the cabinets and stuff. I mean, they really just like you walk in, you're like, wow, this is great, let's get it. But yeah, definitely what Sean just said, have a list for sure. Have a list of really what's important to you. And then Sabrina and I, another quick tip, we had a little notepad with us, and we would write down, if we walked into an RV and we really liked it, we wrote down what it was, the brand, the make, the floor plan, and we just wrote down like maybe 5 things that we really liked about it, just to help us remind us what it was. Because if you're at a show and you're jumping from like RV to RV, it was so easy to forget or confuse RV. So every RV that we walked in that we liked, we just wrote, a couple things that we liked about it, the brand, the make, when we saw it, what show were we at, just to kind of refresh our memory. And then we would go back home and go online and do like deeper dives into that RV. I know they're, the salespeople, we're talking about the Tampa show coming up. Those guys don't want to sell at the show, and they normally are the best deals.
Yeah, and the salesmen at the shows are normally the best salesmen.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They don't want you to go home to think about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, see, it's a tough one. You don't want to lose out on a good deal, especially nowadays when the prices are higher than they've ever been. I mean, I know you don't want to lose out on a deal, but the good thing nowadays is that you can do a lot of research right from your phone.
Yeah, while you're standing there,
while you're standing
at
right there. Yeah. Yeah, while you're standing right there. So if you're going to be at the show, definitely, keep an eye. Like I said, Sabrina's going to be wearing a bright teal Beyond the Wheel podcast shirt. Sean's on being a Beyond the Wheel podcast sweatshirt. I'll be in like I said, I'm always warm. So I will be in a Beyond the Wheel t-shirt. And all three of us will have large Beyond the Wheel podcast logos on the backs. They're very large. You can't miss them. So if you're going to be at the show, keep an eye out for us, or reach out to us on Instagram. We got an Instagram page, and say that you're going to be there. Sean and I would love to meet up.
Yeah,
and
for
say
sure.
hello and thank you. And we'll give you a Beyond the Wheel sticker, get a photo with you if you want to get a photo. We love taking photos. Wow. I like taking photos. I don't know if Sean's a photo person. I asked him to smile earlier for a photo for me, and he gave me a half smile.
And then we have coming up a great episode with Adam from Winnebago, talking about some of their new towables that are reaching out to certain segments of the RV population, and just really talking about the towable business in general. I think he had a lot of good information in that episode. And then we just recorded yesterday, but it'll be coming out in January, an episode with Justin Ford, who many of people on Facebook know him as a solar expert in the RV space, and he's actually started a company, and he's doing installations for people. And so we had a really good chat with him yesterday, and that'll be coming out, like we said, in January. So really excited about these 2 episodes coming up.
Yeah, they're both must listens.
Yeah, for sure.
I think all of our episodes are must listens, but yeah, they both had a lot of great information about, Adam with the towables and Justin with the panels. And if you've ever listened to the show, Sean and I really like grabbing companies like when they're fresh and just getting started. And we hope to have Justin back and see how much growth, because he is offering a service to RVers that is greatly needed.
Yeah, for sure.
So we think he is just going to explode. I just think that business is going to explode.
Yeah, and with Winnebago, if you listen to it comes out right before the Tampa show, and if you take a listen to it, the towables that he's talking about are going to be debuted, I think, to the public at this Tampa show. So you can learn about them, learn about the features, and then when you go to the show, you can go and play with all the features that are on these. So
that's the nice.
Yeah, that'll be a nice thing to listen to the episode before you go to the show.
Another nice thing about being at the shows is, being able to demo the RVs a little bit, because they'll let you in there. Adam even said that they're going to let you mess around because they got a brand new AC unit that's very quiet. He said, you guys will be able to go in. Everybody will be able to go in and take a listen to it. So that's the fun of the show. It's not just the meetup and stuff like that, but you're shopping for an RV, man. There's no better place than an RV show. You just get to see so much in one location. But all right, everybody. Well, as always, we want to wish you safe travels. We want to wish you happy holidays and a happy New Year. By the time we get back, it will be a new year with Adam and the Winnebago Towable line. We want to thank our sponsors, Tempstick and Battleborn Batteries. We really appreciate all the support that they give us. They make putting on the show so much easier. They don't just help us financially, but they help us get contacts with other companies and help us get guests on the show. So we cannot say enough about these companies. They're both very driven in making RVing easier and just better and more fun for everybody. And that's exactly what Sean and I like. So I believe that's it. Sean, I will wish you a good night as well.
We'll see everybody in a couple of weeks.
This episode is brought to you by Battleborn Batteries, the best name in the RV and marine industry. These lithium batteries are designed and assembled in the USA, backed by a 10-year warranty. The best solution for your battery anxiety. So go check them out at battlebornbatteries.com. Hey everyone, Kenny here. Do you travel with pets and are looking for a way to monitor and be alerted of temperature spikes in your RV while away? I've been using a Tempstick in our RV for over 3 years, and I love the simplicity of being able to connect to any of our hotspots, as well as not having the hassle of any subscription or service fees. If you are looking for a reliable way to protect your pets while away, check out Tempstick at tempstick.com.